Hey guys.
I'm Bob.
I'm Barb. Together we make up
HetteshWorld.
So, conclusion of the video of the Bob Wrecked the RV series or not?
It's a conclusion.
Sorta. Stay tuned.
Today's video is going to be the conclusion of Bob Wrecked our home or RV.
So the 4 videos that show all that are linked below in the description if you want to watch them if you haven't seen them.
In the background you're going to hear our fireplace running because it's Texas and it got a little chilly last night.
It's cold.
Got down in the
Amelia's
high
cold.
50s. Yep. This final video we just wanted to talk about the conclusion of the repairs and what all we did to get it finished up.
So I'll start that once everything finally came in and the part that was missing that we talked about the last one that Ron Hoover forgot to order came in. We were supposed to go in that Monday because it came in on Friday and they said, oh, we gotta wait a week. So I cried. So then a week later we went in on Monday. The guy who was working with us the whole time went off on training. So it was supposed to be done in 5 days. So what happened and how did it all end up?
We knew this guy was going to be gone, so we were dealing with the actual service guy. First they tried to find our work order and they couldn't find the work order, so that was a little bit of a struggle there. They finally found it. I think they knew because we'd been in there a couple times throughout the last couple weeks talking to them about it. And like we said from the very beginning, if you don't get involved in your project, especially on RVs, they're just never going to flow right. And even with all the times that we got involved, it just ain't going to flow correctly because they get a different mindset than you know, especially when you're full-timers, you know, it might be different because you got time to let it sit. But when you're on the road, it's your home. You got to jump in and take care of it. Repairs, they were devastating to us day one, but they weren't as bad.
Yes, some have happened.
Yes, there was some aluminum body panel damage that looked bad, but was superficial basically. But it was the full body paint, and
it was in the sheets, not the fiberglass.
It was in the aluminum, so it wasn't anything into the fiberglass. There's been a lot of repair, but the worst thing was the jack got bent, and so that had to be repaired. So they thought a day and a half to get this repaired. And then maybe a day and a half of painting. Well, it turned out it was, what, 5 days?
We were able to leave on Saturday instead of Friday.
Yeah.
The painter got put off by a day because they forgot to organize a welder to come in, which they didn't realize they needed till they got into the work.
They had to cut the bracket off that holds the leveling leg to, re-weld in the new one. And I guess they didn't have guys that were doing the work, weren't able to cut that off and re-weld it in, so they had to get a welder outside of the dealership to get that fixed.
So we were pretty lucky because he came in actually pretty quick, but it took him a day. And then the paint guy was actually really great because he's super busy. He's not their employee. They scheduled him and he rescheduled and worked around it and came in and then worked on our thing. Because
there was 4 colors involved on these 2 panels that got replaced. The dark blue is a little bit off, but the camper's 2.5 years old. It don't look bad to me. If you know anything about paint, when they talk about orange peel, it's got sort of a texture of an orange peel. And the factory's got a lot of orange peel in it because it's not painted to showroom standards where they sand it and buff it and all that. So the painting he did pretty much looks identical to that painting. The stripes look really well.
Yeah, they match.
The color, the blue color, is just a little bit darker hue, but it don't bother us at all because he did a nice job. There's not, for painting into a shop and not painting into a paint booth, there's very little dirt in the paint. It looks really nice. And if we wanted to wet sand it and buff it, but the whole camper would have to be wet sanded and buffed, so that's not what it looks fine for us.
Basically, the panels they added correctly. They painted them correctly. They had to move the jack bracket back into place and put on the mounting bracket. And then the tire, we picked up the tire and we ordered the wheel, got that. They had to put the tire on for us.
We took the tire and the rim down to a tire store because they didn't have the ability to mount the tire.
Yeah.
So we took it down, and the new rim came with the TPMS on it, and we had them put the old one on, so we didn't have to relearn it with our TPMS.
TPMS is great, but getting it to beginningly pair with your device is a nightmare. So we didn't want to go and try to figure that out when we were trying to get the heck out of there.
Yeah, so that we did all that ourselves and then brought it back to Ron Hoover. The only weird thing is that Saturday we went to pick it up. They called us and told us to pick it up on Saturday. We got there.
Be ready.
They opened at 9 and we got there about 10:30.
Yeah.
They still weren't ready for us. They were still doing some final little bit of silicone and a little bit of they still hadn't put the
tire on.
Yeah, so
we were there like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, waiting on that.
I will tell you that we went once during the week to check on it just to make sure things were moving along, and that's when we found out about the welder and the painting. But let's show them, Bob, what they did when we walked in the door. We come through the door, you hear the little bell, and we're the people behind the counter. You ready, Bob?
Yep.
And then we talked to them on Saturday about that when we came in, and the girl goes, "Oh yeah, we saw you guys," and we were like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't believe you're even admitting that you did that, but
I think the main thing is that they're not used to people getting so involved in their RV.
We're involved.
And yeah, it's our home, and we want to get it fixed so we can get back on the road, you know. So that was I mean, that's what I take it as. They just weren't used to people being that involved in the whole process. The other thing that had to be done was our wheel was towed in a little bit from the accident. So they were able, with MORryde's help, to unbolt, because with MORryde you got height adjustment, you got camber adjustment, and you got toe in, toe out. So they were able to get that wheel back into place. But when we arrived, I got out my 6-foot level.
Well, his eye told him it wasn't quite right.
Yeah, I took my 6-foot level and went across all 3 tires on the non-accident side, and all tires hit on the level.
Let's show him what it's like. Like he said, he showed him on the non-accident side how perfect it was.
Yeah.
Then we went to the accident side,
and I showed it to him.
And he says,
"Well, it's a different size tire you bought." And I said,
"What?
"No, it's exact tire. It was off a little bit when I put the level across the accident side. The front tire, which sustained the damage, was off a little bit, like a 1/2 inch on the back and a 1/2 inch in the front, so it's equal distance. This shop does not have alignment tools to align the vehicle, so we were always going to take it up to MORryde anyway. Part of the insurance claim is to get this realigned by the professionals up there at MORryde,
just to make sure everything really is okay underneath.
Yeah, so if anything needs to be replaced, they did replace a shock that MORryde said looked like in the picture need to be replaced. And since then we've traveled about 300 miles and no weird tire wear right now, so we got about 1,300 miles to get back home. So we'll keep an eye on that on roadside stops to make sure that tire is not wearing funny.
I mean, we recommend that anyway, that when you're having a travel day, you always take a break anyway, but you get out, you walk around the camper, and you check things. Your tires, your doors, your slides, and especially your jacks.
Yeah.
And then what did we find on the way to here when we were just checking everything with the tire?
On the jack pads, we got smart pads on ours, but I noticed the front one was wobbling, and on the bottom of that pad there is a bolt that holds that up in there, and it's got a large lock nut, and I guess they loosened up. So we just got out the socket in the ratchet, and we tightened it back up at the roadside park. There was like 3 of them that were loose, but the front one was really loose, not the one that was involved in the accident. So that's something I never thought about on a checklist, to check those every so often. Probably once a year or something, make sure it's not that bottom plate is not coming off of the hydraulic ram on it. Just something to watch out for when you're doing your pre-checks. So
I'll talk a little bit about our experience from all the vendors. I mean, the vendors that were great, that we couldn't really truly deal with, Lion's Head was perfect and on the ball. Lippert was perfect and on the ball, and MORryde was perfect and on the ball. Those 3 vendors, easy, no problem. They want to sell you products, they want to make money, they want to do a good job, just like you think how businesses should run. And also Goodyear Tire. Goodyear Tire was another one that was very good and very quick about getting us the tire.
A little bit about Lippert. Once we talked to them and got a hold of the factory and found out about this bracket that had not been ordered, and we were a week behind.
Yeah.
They actually found this part in one of their warehouses up there, which was the bracket.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah, and they actually shipped it to us free of charge, and the part free of charge. I mean, the part was like $56. It wasn't the money, but man, did that save us on our timeline, because if we would have had to wait, because originally
5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, originally it was like 5 to 6 weeks to get this bracket. So we just want to thank Lippert for their just taking care of a customer.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Lippert. From the bottom of my heart, you are top of the line. That is for sure.
And with Riverstone Parts, we want to thank them also, because they were involved with Ron Hoover. Ron Hoover was dealing with them exclusively, and if we wouldn't have got involved, it was on the shoulders of Riverstone. And even though we know these campers are built with multiple manufacturers, so we tried to go directly to the manufacturers to get these parts. The timeline would have been way, way off if they had dealt with just them directly, because they were dealing with their purchasing department that has to deal with the other manufacturer's purchasing department. So going directly to the manufacturer, once we knew what parts were needed, it worked out just perfectly. And Riverstone, they got us the panels. That's the main thing we needed from them, was the panels.
Yeah, and everything else we worked around the vendors to get into Riverstone to get to Ron Hoover.
Yeah.
I mean, Ron Hoover, you know, not for a place that is one of the top 3 sellers of Riverstone in the country, you think they would be a little bit more pro in their service department, but they're, at least at this location, they are not.
Yeah.
And they seem so depressed. The person in charge, while you're sitting there or you're shopping or whatever you're in there, you're constantly hearing, like, you know, life is so horrible for this person. And we know in our jobs life can be hard. We've all been there, but you just don't do it or share it in front of the customers. And oh my God, if your life is that horrible every day at your job, you need another job.
Yeah, I mean, part of it.
Be happy.
I mean, part of it might have been because we were over persuasive on getting things.
We were
going.
Nice about it, though.
We were very nice about it. You know, like I said, sometimes you have to be a little bit more abrupt than you normally would be, because it is your home, it is your camper rolling down the road, and if you let people walk over top of you, you know, it may never get fixed. We might still be in Rockport. So,
well, and I will say that we are totally, I feel loved and blessed by God, because when our camper went in for repairs on that Monday, no one was in charge. So we had to rely on everyone that was there, with no one making sure anybody was doing what they were supposed to be doing and that it was even done right. I mean, it was just like somebody threw the Riverstone up and everybody had to catch it and throw it together with no management, no control, no nothing.
Yeah,
so we were lucky.
I mean, just like going after the parts, we did call them daily and ask them, you know, what was going on. You know, what's the timeline looking like, and we're not being pains in the the butt, but we were looking to get a timeline to make sure things were flowing the way originally when we talked to our guy that was no longer there because he was off onto training classes of some type. We wanted to make sure that same timeline was being followed by the people that were in charge when we dropped it off. And that's all we were doing, to keep up on it, because if you don't, the timeline falls apart, and the next thing you know, you're there 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, especially when we brought it in and we were going to drop it off, and the guy was just going to take it, and then we're standing there, and he's looking at us, and we're like, well, we just want to make sure everything's okay. He goes, ugh. So he's looking in the system, and then he's like, what, where? I mean, our camper might have sat there for a week before anybody found it, in the system. So it's the little things that get your RV back on the road.
Yeah, one thing I want to talk about is our beautiful grandfather clock going off. But one thing I wanted to talk about was we did have a little small spot on the other side of the aluminum, and it's really not even noticeable by most people unless you wash the vehicle, and I see it.
On the non-damaged side.
Yeah, we were going to have that fixed at the same time by the painter. We were going to pay for it, and then once we got there on Saturday and we looked at it, we found that was not ever done.
No,
and that's because the guy that was originally we talked to, well, I can't blame anybody except for Ron Hoover, because the day we dropped it off, those people he was not there, but we actually took them out and they took pictures, and we said, this is the other side you said you were going to take care of. Well, the painter had the colors, and it was only in the black, and it's nothing major, but it's something that we wanted done.
Service.
It's just something that got the ball dropped, and hell, we weren't going to leave it there again, let them do that little repair. So
we were like,
So we didn't even want it on the original estimate. We wanted it just fixed while it was there, and the guy had paint in his gun to fix it. It'd have been probably, an hour job at the most.
I mean, when we left there, the caulking was wet because he was checking things, looking around, and I look in, and I'm always seeing things, and I saw a little mark, and I thought, what is that? So I take this little finger, and I'm trying to reach in to see if it's dirt or dust I can dust off. And then I end up with caulk all over my hand. I didn't even know what it was. First I thought it was paint because I thought, oh my God, it's wet. And then I'm like a child. I'm like this, and then I had it all over my hands. So we left with wet caulking. But at least we made it to Livingston. We're in Livingston, Texas. We've got doctor's appointments. For those who have been following us on social media that knew that Amelia was sick and not feeling good, she is not quite 100%, but she's almost better, almost herself.
Yep.
People were worried about you. She says, meow, 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 which means thank you.
We were worried about her too.
Yep.
Very much so.
Yeah, we thought she was trying to die on us, and we're like, you're not dying in Rockport, you're going to live.
2.5 years, and she's never had any kind of problems besides her normal visits.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So all right, I just want to point out all the repairs that we had done. This panel here was replaced and painted, and you can see the difference in the color a little bit there, just a little bit. Underneath here, that's the jack mount and the jack that got replaced right there. Our snap pad survived, so we were able to put it back on. This panel here got replaced. This strip got replaced, and of course this panel all down through here got replaced. This is the brand new wheel, and then the brand new tire. The accident, the hunting the parts, the getting the dealer involved and getting an estimate, to getting the repairs done.
Getting the hell out.
It went as smoothly as it could have went, I guess. And once again, get involved in your camper repairs. Don't leave it to chance, because it probably won't happen. So that's all we wanted to say on that.
And now we are back to our normal life, where we can go to a place, we can park, we can get Blue Spidey out, and we can ride, which we have done. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be back to living our normal life. I did not realize how much I missed it and how horrible it was without him. Oh, we did stay a week in a hotel too. Our insurance company paid for that as well. Our Progressive has like a $2,000 rider policy on it, covers your hotel stay. So if you're away from your home, which worked out real well for us, and we stayed in Corpus Christi, which was beautiful. And a lot of people say, why don't you just travel in a hotel by hotel across the U.S.? It's cheaper. It's whatever. No, it's not cheaper. And two, it's so disgusting. It's just, this is my home. My home is clean and spotless, and I'm happy, and I don't want to live in a hotel ever again. So the only other thing that we'll update on down the road, and it'll probably just be in a video, but we'll just talk about, it may be a short, but it'll be talking about the professionals at MORryde and what they did, or what they found, or what they did to resolve it, because we know it needs some type of alignment. We just have to wait to see. Once we get it there, let the professionals take a look at it and get it fixed up. So we appreciate all your love and support and your comments. You guys have been totally awesome. So give this video a thumbs up, smash up that notification bell, because you want to know where we're going to be. We've got some great videos coming up. We're going to be actually showing some videos in Montana next. And remember to comment, let us know your thoughts on this whole series. And remember, we're HetteshWorld. Come travel in our incredible world. Bye-bye.